So good morning. My name is Kristen, and this is our 30-minute practice. We're going to work into just kind of low back and hip mobility today. That was kind of a request. I think whether you're pregnant or not, I think that's just something we all kind of need, and it's nice to take some time in the morning. So I've got a bolster pillow here. You can have a blanket or something rolled up. We're going to start our practice in our child's pose. So big toes come towards one another, knees spread open wide. And you'll notice as your pregnancy progresses, you'll kind of take that pillow further away to kind of create this little lovely space for baby. And if you don't have a nice bolster pillow like this, you can kind of prop up a few bed pillows, a blanket to kind of fold it. We get resourceful when we practice in our homes. And for many, this is a nice stretch to the top of the ankle, into the shin. We get a bit of lengthening in the low back and a bit of compression into the hips to kind of release some of that early morning tension. So just take a few breaths. We welcome ourselves to this practice and welcome our babies, our bodies, our mind, our breath. So typically for the Tuesday evening classes and the Saturday classes, we'll do introductions with guest dates. For 30 minutes, it goes really fast. So we've got Ashley and Natalia here and a handful of others. I think we had 8 total signed up. So a nice little crew. I want you to notice here, if you came down to take the support of a pillow or something, you likely have one facial cheek with your head turned off to the side. So we'll give it a few more breaths here and then we'll work to neutralize. So lift the head and take the opposite, take the gaze towards the opposite side, opposite facial cheek. And this goes without saying throughout this practice, if something I call doesn't feel great in your body, you can try to be curious about what other positions might feel good for you. So if you've got one facial cheek on the bolster pillow now, we'll gently lift the head and maybe just take a neutral position for a breath. And then you can take your head off to the other side. And you might notice here also that the knees might want to go a little bit wider. You kind of give a little shimmy side to side just to work into the hip joints a bit. Being proud of yourself that you've taken this time to connect with your body and your breath and your baby. Just a few more breaths here. If you feel like you've got energy to release or some tension in the body, I always like to take an inhale through the nose, opening your mouth and exhaling, kind of sighing it out, letting it go. It's a really good strategy. I find that myself doing that often throughout the day. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Good. Let's take one more breath here. And let it go. If you extended your arms out, bring them a little bit closer to the body and we'll start to push into the floor to kind of lift the torso. You might slide any pillows or props out of the way. Coming into our tabletop position here. And we'll just work through this neutral position in our spine. Take a full breath in with me. And as you exhale, we'll round the spine, gaze towards your baby, gaze at the thighs, push the floor away, so spread the shoulder blades. As you inhale, come back to neutral. And we find a little bit of a pelvic kind of tilt with this as well. And exhale, round the spine. Good. You can work through this at your own pace if it feels maybe good to add some other movements, some big hip circles. I cannot stress this notion of intuitive, creative, organic movement enough. It really, the more you can practice it, the more you are prepared when it comes time for labor and delivery, and you can really tune in to listen to your body and what your body needs in that moment, because we don't really know, right? We wish we knew where we'd feel those contractions, but hands and knees is a good position if you feel any tightness or contractions in the low back. Good. Just take a few more rounds of breath and movement. If your wrists are tender, come on down to forearms. It's a great place to be as well. From here, we're just going to take the knees a bit wider. So maybe not as wide as you had for child's pose. We're just going to kind of come through back towards child's pose and then rock it forward. Maybe you take a little drop of the hips. This should kind of feel good. This tightens our hip flexors here. And here as we drop it forward, kind of can open up into the thighs, into the pelvis, into the hip flexors. If it feels better, you can take your knees closer together. We just want to make sure when we come back that we've got plenty of space for baby as we come back in between the thighs. Good. Take that maybe 2 more times. Sometimes these dynamic movements of pairing 2 movements together feel really kind of meditative. Good. And then we'll come back to the neutral position. Knees kind of realign underneath our hips. And we'll help the left foot up towards the upper left-hand corner. Now, if you've got something like a yoga block or a bolster, you could bring that in. Sometimes people like to stay, down more towards the floor. You're going to feel that more into the left hip joint here. If we bring up the torso and lean it forward into this, you're going to feel this more into the right side, into the hip flexor. I don't normally practice yoga with socks, but my feet, it was really chilly here today, so good. So just kind of checking in. I also think it feels really good for the outer hip to drop the knee open. Kind of get into the glutes a little bit, come onto the outside edge of the left foot. And I'm really leaning into these blocks, so using them to bring the floor a little closer to me. And here what's nice is you've got plenty of room as the belly grows. Good. What we'll do is come back, if you drop the left knee open, bring the left foot back down to the mat, heel toe it more towards the center, shift it back. This is one of my favorite combos. So we're stretching into our calf here for this half split. And when you are here, not only do we flex the toes up towards the ceiling, I want you to push your left heel down into the mat. And you will feel that really, really open up. Really stretch the back of the left leg. And what we'll do next is sort of release that left foot. And I want you to take sort of like you're waving your foot hello or goodbye. So working in internal and external rotation of the left femur bone into the joint on the left side. And just kind of noticing when you take it all the way to the left, that's external rotation, in to the right, internal rotation. Good. Let's come back to our tabletop. So you can kind of bring your left knee back to meet your right. Come back down to hands and knees. And just find a bit of stillness. Always good to let our body have just a moment's worth of stillness to let that movement integrate. If you've got blocks, we'll take them off to the left side of the mat. Help the right foot up. And here's where you can determine whether you decide to keep your torso down a little bit or lift it up, as we've got the right foot forward and the left knee back. And if you don't have something like yoga blocks in your house, you could always take like a shoe box and wrap it in duct tape. That makes it a little bit more sturdy. Or you could always reach, I don't have my my water bottle, but sometimes a water bottle is a nice height to put something, put your hands on as well. So we kind of get resourceful, or grab 2 same size books. Good. You might drop the right knee open here on this side by coming in to the outside edge of the right foot. Each side's always a little different, and especially as you come into that 3rd trimester of how baby's positioned in your body, you'll really feel kind of the asymmetry between the left and the right side. Good. So bring your right foot back down, maybe heel toe it more towards the center of the mat. Shift the hips back. As we flex the right toes up, we push the right heel down. I've been trying to do a lot more walking since this pandemic hit, and I can really feel it in my calves that I need to stretch them more diligently. So one more breath here. Breathe into that sensation you might feel on the back side of the right leg. And we'll take, you can kind of let go of that deep push and deep flex and just start to move the right toes off to the right and off to the left. Good job. Good. Each side, our mobility is a little different. All right, let's come back to our tabletop once again. Right knee joins the left. Take a bit of stillness. Good, and we'll find our way to downward facing dog here. So fingers or hands come a little bit wider, and I want you to prepare. Take the feet wide. So then as you come here, this is when the socks usually need to come off. With a wide stance, you've got plenty of room for belly and baby when you come to, and you might take a shorter stance. Just kind of notice how pregnancy might shift your downward facing dog. And if you're new to yoga, really just checking in of what does my body need in this moment. Encourage you to let your head be really heavy. I feel like this is always a time where I look at my yoga pants and I'm like, oh, there's dog hair or fuzzies. Or we look at our mat and like, you see people like kind of wipe it off. So just hang in here for a moment, this gentle inversion. If this does not feel good, stay in tabletop. Sometimes during the 3rd trimester, if you've got a little bit of acid reflux, this kind of aggravates that. So stay with head above the heart versus head below the heart. Let's slowly walk the feet towards the hands here. And we take a forward fold. So this should be really nice for the low back. Keep that wide stance. So my feet are almost as wide as my mat. And we sort of round on over. Now, intuitively, my body wants to like kind of take these shifts and bends into one knee at a time. Check into what feels good in this moment in your body. Perhaps it's just this nice static hold, or inviting a bit of movement in is just fine too. So we've got a rounded spine. Here we're going to engage the muscles along the back of the spine, engage the core to take hands to shins, take a halfway lift here. So we're finding a nice flat back. Gaze goes straight down here to keep our neck in line with the spine. Come back down to forward fold. You can sort of round and tuck chin towards chest. Let's take 2 more, just like that. Halfway lift and back down to fold. Nice. One more time. Good work. This time we're gonna let our hands walk all the way up. The shins, the knees, the quads. And we'll come all the way up to our mountain pose. So take some shoulder rolls back. And let's take left hand to your heart and right hand to your baby. So we're just taking a nice tall stance. Engage your quads a bit. So we find a little lift of the kneecaps. Tall spine. Taking a moment to connect with your baby, connect with your breath. As we inhale, we feel our heart and our belly expand. And as we exhale, we feel a bit of softening. Good, let's take one more breath here. Nice work, you guys. And let it go. Bring your hands down or your arms down at your sides, palms shine forward. Finding a few sun salutes to kind of welcome in this Wednesday morning. As we inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Exhale, make sure you got a nice wide stance here. Forward fold all the way back down. Hands to shins, halfway lift. Here we're going to bend into our knees, plant the hands, and just step it back this first time to downward facing dog. If you feel like stepping back to plank and then pushing back to down dog, that's a great option too. Good, let's take the gaze forward, bend your knees. We're preparing for movement here. Step the feet to the top. Hands to shins, half lift. Forward fold, nice job. Inhale, rise. So we take the hands all the way up, sweep them up. And we're gonna fold it right back down, exhaling for this forward fold. Inhaling for a halfway lift. Exhale, plant the hands, step the feet back, high plank. This time we're kind of adding that high plank. Knees could be up or knees could be down. Feel like we're wrapping baby from back to front and front to back. So nice strong core. Good, we'll take a breath here together, nice work. And downward facing dog. Good. Breathe in, take that gaze forward. We're gonna take one more round. As you exhale, step the feet on up. Halfway lift and fold. Reach and rise, take it all the way up and all the way back down. Halfway lift. Plant the hands, step the feet back, high plank. Drop down to your knees here. We're gonna take a nice wide stance with the arms or with the hands. Taking some push-ups here. So really wanting to use our breath. Inhale as we lower, elbows splay out to the sides. Exhale, push on up. Good, we've got 10 here, you are strong. That's 9, good. 8 left here. Could always do these against a wall as well. Or if you need a little less, scoot the knees in. I tend to lose count when I talk like that. So I think we're about halfway here. Stay with me. This is 5, 4. I'm gonna take a nice stretch when we're done here. 3, great work. 2, and 1, excellent. So bring the knees directly underneath the hips. Take a really wide placement with the arms and reach them forward. Ashley, I think you had a dog at home. I can't remember. We have 2 dogs at home, and this is called puppy pose. Nice stretch that our dogs intuitively take right when they get up. They're so smart. Good. Kind of melting the chest down. Excellent. Slide the hands back underneath our shoulders. We'll push up to a tabletop. Nice job. And then walk the hands forward again, finding our way to downward facing dog. We'll take, time really flies when you've got 30 minutes. We'll take a bit of standing work, maybe just a pose or 2, and then we'll make our way back down to the mat. So take the gaze forward, bend your knees, and as you exhale, step the feet on up. Halfway lift, we lift baby, take baby along for the ride here, and come back down to forward fold. Inhale, reach and rise. And this time, we're just gonna take hands to your heart. All right, you guys can stay where you're at on the mat. I'm just gonna turn towards you. What we're going to do is just take, left foot is down. We're going to stair step that right knee, just working into balance a little bit. So we've got our right thigh parallel with the floor. Left hand can come to hip. Let's take the right hand to the right knee. And we'll just work here, externally rotating, so opening up, and then bring it back towards center. Good. Take that a couple more times, building strength in the left leg and kind of working on mobility in the right. Good. Take it one. Balance is always a little tricky. One more time. Now what I want you to do is take your left hand to your right knee, right hand to low back. So grow tall here, and we're gonna take this into a little twist. So okay, my gaze is coming over my right shoulder, and you might notice your balance kind of gets a little more wobbly. We've still got enough room. If you feel like you don't have as much room for baby, you can keep the right toes touched down on the mat. Good, come back to center. We'll take the right knee in for a squeeze and bring it down to meet your left. Now that really fired up my hip flexor. So just find your mountain pose here, standing tall. You might bring hands to your baby. Take a few breaths. Kind of notice the sensation in the right leg versus the left. No judgment whether you feel similarly or different from side to side. What we'll do here is start to shift our weight into the right leg. So you might just start by lifting the left heel, or when you are ready, lift that left knee, left thigh is parallel with the floor. Good, right hand comes to the hip, right knee to the right, right hand to hip, left hand, that's my left side, Kristen, comes to the left knee. Open it up here, you got this. And close it in. Nice. So about 2 more times with breath. Inhale to open and exhale. Good. And notice what happens in the right side as we do this. You know, things are wobbling, things are moving. Good. Once you have that third time done, take the right hand to the left knee, left hand to your low back. And if you need to touch down like I do and reset your balance, that's totally fine. Again, grow tall, and then you might take your gaze over your left shoulder. And balancing on single leg is super for times of year where we might get a little bit of ice or snow. Good. Let's come back towards center. Bring the left knee in for a squeeze. And set it down to meet your right. Set left foot down to meet your right. Mountain pose. Bring left hand to heart and right hand to baby. Okay, what we're going to do is come down into our Malasana, and I really like to take this supported. So we've got something to kind of set our seat on. So I'm going to take my bolster behind. So you could take a couple blocks, pillow. Could also, if you don't have anything to sit on, just take this against a wall. That gives you a little bit support. So hips come down. Heels are in, toes are out. Yeah, and you could take your arms out in front. You could take bent at the elbows, hands together. And I don't think once you're kind of between 32 and 34 weeks, that's when we ideally hope to see baby in this head down position. I don't think either one of you are quite there yet. So if baby's not in a head down position for those last 6 weeks or so, we want to avoid taking a squat this deep, because if you think about it, if baby's head is down and we're taking the squat, it's really helping them into this optimal position. If baby's feet are down or they're transverse, kind of sideways, we're kind of really pushing them down into a less optimal position. So all of our moves here are really to help baby get into what we like to say is just more of an optimal position. And now this is a great time to take an open twist. So you might take your left arm to extend. Maybe you take your right arm open or right hand to low back. And you should feel this. You can be able to like use that left arm to kind of propel you to the right just a bit. Good. If you took that twist to the right, let's even it out. Right arm comes to the inside of right leg. And then open up that left arm. Either reach it if that's too much for the shoulder. Take the hand to the low back, and you can follow with your gaze. Good. Let's bring that left arm down to meet your right. Take a breath here. And a full breath out. Good. What we're going to do, if you've got your seat on something, just kind of scoot it out. And we're going to work a little bit more. We don't have too much time. So what I'm doing is just creating, you can start with soles of the feet. Let's start here. Soles of the feet to your mat, knees towards your ceiling. And we'll just take both knees over to the left. So you'll notice what's happening here is we've got an internal rotation on the right side, external rotation on the left. And we kind of take this windshield wiper movement. And once you arrive, kind of have a nice tall torso. This is a really excellent hip mobility just to kind of work into it. We could probably do a whole class from this posture. Once you get here, take the knees off to the left. You can do a little work with like lifting lifting the right foot to strengthen into the glute, lifting the left. You can do a lot with this. I'll send you guys, I did a recording a while ago with this, kind of some addition for exercises here. So I'll send that out with the recording. Good, let's take one more to each side. Excellent. Let's just come here, soles of the feet come together, let the knees splay open out to the side, so both hips externally rotated here, and bring your hands to your feet and give them a little love. Maybe your ankles or calves as well. Good. You might start to check in. Traditionally, in our yoga classes, we take a nice, really gentle, restorative shavasana. Well, in this 30-minute practice, most of us need to like get moving with the remainder of our day. So what we'll do is just come to a seat. If you have more time to spend in kind of a gentle restorative position, you might recline, or you might come to side lying or lay on your back for just a bit. But for the purposes of today and a few minutes left of class, I want to stay mindful to our time. We'll just take left hand to heart and right hand to your baby. Maybe drop your chin towards your chest a bit. To me, always symbols this act of gratitude or surrender, gratefulness for this practice, our health, our baby's health, our ability to move and breathe together, even via Zoom. I'll just take a few calming, cleansing breaths here. So maybe in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good. Let's take 2 more breaths together. Inhale and exhale. Good. Bring both hands to your heart. Once again, we find gratitude for ourselves, for showing up, gratitude for our baby, gratitude for one another. Thank you again. As always, the light and love in me sees and honors the light and love in you. Namaste.